Well, here I am, 1:30 in the morning, later than I ever stay up. The Mike Tyson Jake Paul fight is in the books, it's over with, and I think we've all just been duped, if I'm being completely honest with you. Horrible fight. Um, I don't know that I expected any different, if I'm being quite honest. But I will say, I will reserve the right to give myself a little bit of pat on the back right now because exactly what I predicted to happen actually happened. I mean, to a T. To a T. I didn't think that Jake Paul would be able to knock out Mike Tyson with any sort of overhand right. Mike Tyson, as old as he is and as old as he looked, he's still very well trained fundamentally. He knows how to keep his hands up. He's always had a glove, where he always had a glove in the way when Jake Paul tried to come over the top with something or hit him with an overhand right. There was always something kind of in the way, or he was always rolling because he was constantly, doing his little peekaboo style. The problem is he was peeking, but he wasn't booing. He was just peeking. No booing whatsoever. Mike Tyson barely threw any punches. For the first couple of rounds he did, and you could just tell from round two on, maybe round two and a half, you saw little bitty tiny glimpses of, oh, wait, what's that? Was that look, maybe a little bit of the old Mike Tyson in there? The explosiveness, the quickness, that sort of thing. He glanced a couple of left hooks here and there off of Jake Paul, where you had those brief moments of hope where you're like, and then round three on, Mike Tyson looked, unfortunately, like a 58-year-old man that he is. And you could tell, I mean, he was even limping a little bit. You could tell that he just didn't have the spring in his legs, he didn't have the spring in his step, and he was just not able to get in and get off on the younger, faster, more athletic Jake Paul. He just wasn't. And I was kind of afraid that's what would happen. And, I didn't think Jake would be able to knock him out because Mike Tyson's defense is too good. I didn't think he'd be able to hit him clean with anything. I didn't think Mike Tyson would leave himself open enough to get hit completely clean with something. Plus, Mike Tyson's 58. He knows his place in this world at this point. And for him, it had to have been somewhat of a moral victory just to have survived and to just not have gotten knocked out by him. Tyron Woodley got flatlined by Jake Paul. You know, um, who else? What's the other guy's name? The curly headed rascal. Ben Askren got flatlined by Jake Paul. Anderson Silva even got knocked down to the canvas by him. Tommy Fury, even though Jake lost that fight, still got dropped to the canvas by Jake Paul. So in my mind, a 58-year-old Mike Tyson, not only is he getting $20 million out of the whole project, but for him, it's a moral victory to just be able to make it to the final bell and say that he didn't get knocked out or even knocked down to the canvas by Jake Paul. So that's kind of the way it started to feel on Mike Tyson's behalf on into the fourth, fifth, sixth round. You kind of just felt like, he's just trying to survive it at this point. Let's be honest. He's just trying to make it to the final bell, get that $20 million check. It's all love, hugs, and kisses at that point, respect for one another. Jake talking about how Mike's a legend and he's the baddest man on the planet and this and that. 2 days ago, they were going to kill each other. They were going to go to war. He was going to knock him out. Mike Tyson was going to walk through Jake Paul. I mean, I would say we've been duped. And I will say that if this were, and I'll get to Jake Paul in a minute. But I will say that if this were a pay per view and it wasn't an already Netflix subscription that I pay for every month, I would have been pretty pissed off. My brother came over. My son was here. So I had a few people watching it together. We were all, of course, pulling for Mike Tyson, hoping that he would do something spectacular, which never happened. Obviously, he looked old. He had a brace on his knee, and you could tell after the third, fourth round, he just didn't have it. He's an old man, guys. And the fact that Logan Paul stepped in the ring afterwards, I'll kill you, Mike, trying to promote a fight for him to be up against. Listen, look, you got me the first time. You got all of us the first time. You convinced all of us that there could be this possibility that we could see this brilliance and power and raw dog of the original younger Mike Tyson that was heavyweight champion of the world. You sold us that pipe dream. Some of us believed it. Some of us didn't really believe it down in our gut, but we wanted to believe it in our hearts. And sometimes the heart wins. And so you just believe, just because you just want to believe, but just because it feels good to believe that one of your childhood heroes could potentially still have it when he's clearly 25, 30 years past his prime. Okay? So that's what I'll say for Mike Tyson. He looked old, no spring in his step. He barely threw any punches. When he did, it was a, leaning, lunging sort of punch. Most of the time, you could tell he was just trying to get in a couple so that he could say that he did, so that he could say that he at least put the gloves on Jake Paul's face. Nobody was ever really hurt. I think it was maybe the second or the third round that Jake Paul caught Mike Tyson with a couple of like little short left hooks, little pitter patter left hooks. And Mike Tyson looked completely rattled from this. And the commentating team, Roy Jones and was it Rosa Perez? Not sure why she was on there. Apparently she's some big boxing fan. Who knew? Either way, they're on there. Oh, it's not looking good for Mike. Mike's going downhill from here. He looks finished. Oh, he's about to be out of there. Which I thought that was a little, eh, I thought they were being a little extra there. I didn't think he was really hurt that badly, but it is fair to say that those punches that Jake Paul hit him with that actually had Mike Tyson looking a little rattled were nothing. Nothing. And you're talking about probably 20 to 25% power. Nothing on them, no sting on them at all. And to me, seeing that and seeing Mike Tyson get rattled over those little bitty baby punches just reminded me of the Vitor Belfort Holyfield situation where you get in there and it just becomes apparently obvious right out of the gate that these 60-year-old guys just can't take punches anymore. You just don't have the chin anymore when you're a 60-year-old individual. Let's get real, okay? And I think that's what we saw tonight. They did a good job of selling the fight. The slap that Mike Tyson did the night before looked damn good, and I was proud of him for doing that and landing that, although I'm sure they probably planned it. It got everybody pumped up, excited for the fight, excited for the what ifs, or excited for the maybes, excited for the possibility that Mike could possibly still have one more. No, he didn't. Now let's go to Jake Paul. Jake Paul looked like shit. Jake Paul looked scared. He looked rattled for the first two rounds. His feet looked like a freshly born baby deer. Um, Sliding, scrambling, crossing his feet all over. And listen, I'm not a boxing professional. I've just been watching the sport for quite a long time. And, someone who's been watching the sport since I was a little kid, even I could see that he was shaken, he was rattled, he was a little bit caught up in the moment, even though this is a 58-year-old Mike Tyson, is still Mike Tyson. He's still seen all the highlights of a young killer Mike Tyson literally knocking people out of their shoes in the ring. Mike Tyson used to knock people out so bad in his prime that he would knock them out 3 times with one punch. He would hit them, they would go down, try to stand up, fall down again, try to stand up, then fall down to the other side. I mean, Mike Tyson had that kind of devastating punching power. I'm sure that was just a little bit in the back of Jake Paul's head. Of course, he doesn't want to get his clock cleaned by a 58-year-old man. How embarrassing would that be? So, for the first couple of rounds, he played it smart. He went in for a shot and then he immediately clinched. Went in for a shot, then he immediately clinched. If he wasn't doing that, he was moving straight back, or he was moving laterally, or he was moving this way laterally. He stayed on his bicycle literally for the first couple of rounds, only really throwing a couple of shots here and there, just trying to stay safe, knowing and being aware that the first 2 rounds is when Mike Tyson would have been at his freshest, and at that at that point in the fight would have had the biggest chance of maybe catching Jake with something. And I think he felt like if he could get past those first 2 rounds, stall, run around a little bit, right to left, back, grab him, throw a punch, then grab immediately, hold him for 2 or 3 seconds, and you're talking about 2-minute rounds. I mean, by the time you ran around the ring a couple of times, you know, you know, grabbed him, held on for a second or two, feinted a couple of punches, grabbed it one more time, threw a right hook that missed. The round's over. The round's over. So he looked bad, and I thought even when the third, fourth, fifth, sixth rounds came on, when Jake was definitely winning those rounds and was landing a few punches here and there, they were glancing. He still looked sloppy. His feet were sliding when he was throwing punches. His feet were this far apart. It just did not look good for either guy, to be honest with you. And if I would have had to pay for that, well, I wouldn't have. Let me just say that first. I wouldn't have paid for it. So I'm glad that it was free on Netflix. With that said, it was a huge disappointment. But for me, I think the biggest takeaway for me is that I picked exactly what was going to happen. And exactly what I picked, I mean exactly to a T, happened. So for that, I can give myself a little pat on the back. I said that Mike Tyson wasn't going to be able to get a beat on the faster, younger Jake Paul. That's exactly what happened. But I also felt like Mike Tyson's defense, being trained by the great Cus D'Amato, that peekaboo style, always keeping his hands up here. I would have been shocked if Jake would have been able to catch Mike clean enough to actually really hurt him and really knock him out. And that was the case. But to be honest, looking at it now, looking at a couple of the things that were said in the ring after the fight was over with, he may not even have been trying to knock him out. I mean, the analyst asked him some sort of question. Were you trying to hurt him? Yeah, I was trying to. I was a little bit. A little bit. So you're talking about how you're going to go to war, you're going to kill each other, and now we're here after the fight's over with. Y'all are hugging and kissing, giving each other nothing but praise and respect, and you're telling us that you were trying to hurt him a little bit? Come on, bro. The free fight on Netflix thing is no bueno. I think there was a little bit. I'm not gonna say it was set up. Okay, I'm not gonna say they went full WWE on us because it's a boxing match. You're throwing hands, two big strong guys out there. Anything could happen. Anything could have happened. Okay, so I'm not gonna say they went complete WWE pre-scripted on us, but there were a little bit of elements of robotics, people being informed of, and a general idea of kind of what was going to go on. You know, Mike Tyson is an American icon, an American legend. Let's don't make the American legend look bad. Let's don't end his legacy with him flat on his back by some YouTuber turned boxer. Okay? But let's get honest. With this whole boxing thing right now, Jake Paul is the A side. Okay? It's not Mike Tyson. Jake Paul's the A side. I hear a lot of people say, oh, well, a lot of these people are here for Mike Tyson. Maybe, but still, Mike Tyson might have the name value, but as far as boxing today, now, Jake Paul is still the A side. Okay, so with that, they didn't want Mike Tyson, an American icon, to end up on his back, but Jake Paul is a 27-year-old kid who's just getting started in this circus sort of career that he's got going on here as a self proclaimed boxer. He's got a lot of years left in front of him. So they obviously, at the same time, didn't want him to end up on his back either, getting knocked out by a washed up 58-year-old Mike Tyson with a brace on his knee. So I'm not saying it was scripted, but, you know, I think maybe everybody kind of knew what their part was in all of this. And as far as playing their parts to a T, I think they both look like crap. I thought Mike Tyson looked old. I thought Jake Paul looked like an amateur. He was just kind of all over the place. Like I said, like a freshly born baby calf. His legs were just all over the place. And Mike Tyson too. I mean, he's biting on every feint. Every time Jake went low to the body, he'd do this, and I gotta admit, I was scared there for a little bit because I noticed, Jake kept trying. He likes to set people up, hit him to the breadbasket, hit him to the breadbasket, hit him to the breadbasket, and then on the third time he'll hit him to the breadbasket and then come over top with that massive overhand right. He kept trying to set up Iron Mike Tyson for that. Fortunately, that's where the knowledge came in. Mike knew it and he saw it coming. And, I mean, this guy's been around boxing since he was a 13, 14-year-old kid. He's now almost a 60-year-old man. So even though Jake was younger, stronger, faster, he had a hard time getting over on, even though he's older and slower and all of those things. Mike Tyson had the experience level up here where he was able to kind of thwart any real attack, and able to keep himself safe for the most part. But it was kind of bad. That's what I thought of it. Luckily, I didn't pay for it. Luckily, you guys didn't have to pay for it. It was free with your Netflix subscription. Hindsight's 2020. Looking back on it now, that's probably why they did that. It is what it is. That's my take. I'm gonna go to bed. I'm tired. It's like 4 hours past my bedtime right now. So I love you guys. I hope you got a chance to watch it. It was interesting, to say the least. You know. And subscribe to the channel if you would. Like the video. Comment down below. And if you would, share it also. That really helps to move my content out among the sea of people in the YouTube space. And that's what I really need for this channel to grow. So I would be incredibly grateful if you guys would give it a share. Send it to some other people. Say, hey, this guy's cool, right? And don't be scared to become a member. Don't be scared to drop a little thanks, a little cash donation down below. I like the money too. I mean, I'm not going to make no 20 mil like Mike made. I'm not going to make any 40 mil like Jake. But, you know, just a few bones. Love you guys. Have a good night. Peace.